Cleveland Browns are searching for their next head coach after firing this man, Kevin Stefanski. And we've got the latest updates for you on every candidate that Cleveland has requested to interview so far. So stick around. I'm going to give you guys those updates. I am your host, Joey O'Donohue, host of the Browns Report. We're live on YouTube. And so get going in that chat. Let's get active here, make this an interactive thing. And I think one of the most intriguing storylines right now of all of this, of all the coaching candidates, is John Harbaugh fired by the Baltimore Ravens and is available to be a coach. 18 years as the Baltimore Ravens head coach in our division. He's immediately the best candidate available, ladies and gentlemen. It's not even close. It's rare that you get a coaching candidate like John Harbaugh available. It's the perfect time for Cleveland to have a head coach opening. So let's talk about who's going to be Cleveland's next head coach and who they've interviewed already. The betting odds, if you were curious, to be Cleveland's next head coach. Well, right now, according to Bet Online, the favorite is Kliff Kingsbury, plus 500. John Harbaugh is right there at number 2, plus 600. Then you see Jim Schwartz, Robert Saleh, Mike McCarthy. Interesting names there. Chris Shula, Mike LaFleur, who I actually really do like as an offensive candidate and what he's doing over in L.A. and with the Rams. Kubiak, a very sought-after candidate as well. So those are your odds, ladies and gentlemen. But before we dive right into who Cleveland's talking to, who they've interviewed, get in the comments section down below. Comment your favorite candidate in the live chat. Let me read some of them out here as we want to make this interactive and a lot of fun. And then I'll tell you who Cleveland has interviewed already. We have 5 names that they have guaranteed requested to interview. So who do we want? In the comments section, we got Browns NY saying John. X20 Cameron wants Jim. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is available, but wishful thinking. I like it. Time Man, we need Harbaugh now. I'm with you, dude. I think he's the one that could turn things around. Keith saying John Harbaugh. B. Dunford wants John. What's going on, Kathy? Miami Max says, how about Joe Brady, the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator? He'll definitely be a candidate to watch and an offensive-minded guy. Justin Walker said, give John $241 million guaranteed. Yeah, seriously, what are we paying Deshaun Watson all that money for? I would much rather Jimmy Haslam open up the checkbook, give a fat contract to John Harbaugh, all right? He's worth over $8 billion, Haslam. You know, sell the yacht, whatever you need to do, and just give it to Harbaugh, all right? Turn this thing around. AJ says, I like Clint. Kubiak has gotten multiple interview requests, actually, so look out for him. Look at these. The Johns coming in. Robert Colbert, Jim Schwartz, wouldn't be mad. Wouldn't be mad either. I think that's a very realistic scenario. Excellent Gamer said John Gruden. Whaley said Harbaugh. Kenny Atwell said Harbaugh. Sad Browns fan, bring in Harbaugh. Maybe he won't be a sad Browns fan if we got John Harbaugh. I'm with you guys, honestly. I think that is he's just by far the best candidate out there. And we got a new producer on the show today. Let's bring in JD. I'm going to pop on and say hello, my friend. There he is. How you feeling, JD? Once he gets
there it
his
is.
mic, boom.
I'm feeling good. So, my favorite candidate for the Browns.
Give me your candidate.
Really like Harbaugh, obviously.
Yep.
A lot of winning history with him.
Yep.
I also really like Kubiak. I think you need to go offensive-minded here for coaching. Pair him with Shedeur. Get that offensive scheme going. Start looking good there. I mean, the defense, you just need to add a few more pieces. You already have your main key piece in Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
So I think you go offensive-minded coach.
I'm with you, JD. I like it. Got JD and JOD today. How do we manage this, ladies and gentlemen? But I'm absolutely with you, my friend. I think you need to go offensive-minded. I think Jim Schwartz would honestly take offense if you hire a defensive-minded head coach. He's like, all right, that's kind of disrespectful. Who else is going to coach this defense better than me? Look what they did this year, folks. Sad Browns fan said, Todd, no, please. Shedeur Sanders Glazer says Harbaugh. I'm with it. Bring him in. Miss Special Own said Harbaugh. Todd Schumann says Deion Sanders. Anthony Moreland said Schwartz, Harbaugh, and my dark horse is Gruden. It's a good little 3 right there. That's fun. Fun. Browns NY, John and Kubiak, keep in mind. Kathy said I heard Deion was talking with Jimmy. Is that so? Look this up right now. Coach Prime, Jimmy Haslam. Where do you hear that, Kathy? That'd be fun. Folks, got plenty of candidates to talk about. Here's what's coming up on the show, all right? The latest Browns coaching interviews. So, who has Cleveland already requested to interview? Who are they talking to? I've got the names for you, according to all the sources here that Cleveland has talked to. Don't want to miss out on that. The quarterback situation. Who's the Browns' starting quarterback next year? Andrew Berry talked about this. We'll tell you what he said, what Shedeur had to say. We're going to look at that. And then, as always, we do a Q&A mailbag here with all the Browns fans in the chat. So if you want to be a part of the show, super chat. We will automatically shout you out and put you on the screen. Or if you comment in the live chat and put a hashtag Browns next to it, producer JD can go through, filter that out, and pick some good questions or takes to make it on the show. But if you super chat, you'll automatically make it into our video. So skip the line or use the hashtag Browns. We're going to need both to make a full mailbag here. So do that all throughout today's live stream, and we'll put you on screen, on air, and in our recorded YouTube video at the end of the live stream, a mailbag Q&A. So that's how you can get on today's show. So get in the comment section, super chat your questions and takes, and that will be our third segment. But the first thing we're going to update you guys on is the Browns coaching candidates, okay? So what's up, Mike? Good to see you, Mike Nintendo. So if everybody's ready, I suppose we could get right into our first segment, which is the Browns' latest coaching interview requests. How does that sound to you, JD? Sound good? All right, let's do it. Let's hop right into segment number 1. This just in, the Cleveland Browns request 5 different head coach interviews. So they've got 5 candidates that they have already requested to talk to, ladies and gentlemen. It's my job to tell you who they are, and I love doing it. I'm fascinated myself as a Browns fan. So we're going to dive into the names that Cleveland is going to interview here on today's show. But if you're a diehard Browns fan and you're ready for this thing to turn around, like the video right now if you want the Browns to hire a good coach, someone that could come in here, fix the offense, get us back to the playoffs. Hit the like button right now for free. Somebody please save us. Bring us the Ben Johnson. Bring us the Mike Vrabel who turned the franchise around in their first year. If you want the Browns to get a good coach right away, hit the like button right now on today's show. Without further ado, here's the latest for the Cleveland Browns in their coaching search. They have requested an interview Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher. This is the first time his name has been brought up in this coaching cycle. And I will say, Cleveland, well, they love to interview candidates that no one else is looking at, but I did a deep dive on Dan Pitcher, and we're going to talk about his qualifications. But here's the report from Diana Rossini of The Athletic. The Browns have requested to interview Bengals OC Dan Pitcher for their head coaching vacancy. Per source, this was confirmed by multiple of the Browns beat reporters and insiders, and Dan Pitcher as a candidate. He is at least an offensive-minded candidate, which I think I'm certain that that's the direction Cleveland needs to go as offensive now at head coach, or John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh, everything that I want in a head coach, forget it. I want John Harbaugh more than anything else. But if he's not a real possibility for Cleveland, which I think he will be in some capacity, but if he's not going to be who you get, well, then I want one of those young offensive-minded geniuses. And Dan Pitcher, not only is he the offensive coordinator right now for Cincinnati, he's 38 years old. He was the Bengals quarterback coach from 2020 to 2023. What's very notable about 2020 and him becoming the Bengals QB coach right then? Well, that's when they drafted Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow, my goodness, what can you say about the talent? I'm a Browns fan. I hate everybody in the AFC North except us. When healthy, I think Joe Burrow's the best quarterback in the NFL. I think pure talent, it's him. He's better than Lamar. I'd take him over Allen. I'd take him over Mahomes right now. Look at 2024. It's unbelievable what we saw. When he actually plays 17 games, 16 games. I mean, look at the numbers of 2022 and 2024. The Bengals' defense was atrocious last year. And Burrow was in MVP conversations with 43 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, nearly 5,000 yards. And you're telling me that a candidate we're interviewing coached Joe Burrow his whole career as the quarterback's coach and then got promoted to offensive coordinator. Now I'm listening. Now I'm not necessarily making fun of the Browns for interviewing Dan Pitcher. I understand why this is a conversation here. And there's some overlap with Cleveland and with Dan Pitcher because guess what? Pitcher was a Colts scout from 2012 to 2015. You know who else was in the Colts scouting department back then? Browns general manager Andrew Berry was a pro scouting coordinator those same years. He's got ties to Cleveland. He likes Dan Pitcher, and I think that's why Jeremy Fowler told us as well on Twitter that Cleveland fans like Dan Pitcher. I like how we're going out and interviewing AFC North offensive coordinators. I think it's kind of funny. We're trying to compete in this division, okay? But I do want to note here, Zach Taylor calls the plays in Cincinnati. And Zach Taylor, somehow, some way, is retaining his job. I know there's had a decent amount to deal with, right? Burrow gets hurt a lot, quite frankly. And they're not competitive in this division this year because of that. But if we can poach their OC, I'm sort of warming up to that idea. But he's not a play-calling OC at the moment. I think Cleveland would ask him to do that, depending on the Tommy Rees situation. So what say you? Do you like the idea of Dan Pitcher? Type Y for yes, type N for no in the comments section below. What do you think? Listen, I know it's probably not the greatest blow you away candidate, but I think he fits the mold of what Cleveland should do. I don't mind that he's getting an interview, but don't pick him over someone like John Harbaugh. That's my take on the matter. Next, we can confirm that the Browns are going to interview Jim Schwartz. And I give a round of applause for Jim Schwartz, man, and what he has done this year with the Cleveland Browns, with their defense. It's been incredible in a season that, well, only had 3 wins up until Week 17. Finished off the season with 5 wins. Jim Schwartz, I don't think people are talking about enough that has a relatively decorated NFL coaching career. He's been a head coach before. He has that experience. He went to the playoffs. Actually, there was a moment where I think it was a playoff game where he and Harbaugh faced off against each other, and it got pretty heated between Jim Schwartz and John Harbaugh. I'll show you that perhaps on a future show. He also was the Eagles' defensive coordinator when they won a Super Bowl in 2018, ladies and gentlemen. And now you see what he does with our defense. So, I think he's worth getting an interview, absolutely. I think it'd be disrespectful not to talk to Jim Schwartz about a promotion. We need to do everything we can to keep him. Browns defense in 2025, 4th in total defense, 3rd in passing defense. They were very good in run defense until the latter half of the season. When Malik Collins went down, it changed everything. But the D-line was the best in the league. And 22.3 opponent points per game, not a bad metric. All right? So what Schwartz has done, I think he's also going to be out here saying, well, who's going to coach this defense better than me? What are you looking at defensive candidates for? I'm right here. And so I think he does deserve an interview. I think it would be a slight to Jim Schwartz, honestly, if they did go defensive coordinator as their next head coach. That isn't Schwartz. So there is that to consider, but there's actually a very positive outlook of this too, Browns fans, is that Jim Schwartz getting an interview is great. We could keep him at DC because he's done such a fine job just there, because ESPN's Jeremy Fowler tells us this. Schwartz is under contract for 2026, so Cleveland has the ability to block coordinator suitors. He can leave for a head coaching job, of course, but Cleveland is in position to keep the core of a 4th-ranked defense in place with Schwartz, who will likely interview for Cleveland's head job as well, which is great news. Him being under contract means nobody can poach him as a coordinator. Now, there's been no reports that we know of someone trying to interview Jim Schwartz as a head coach. So at the moment, if things stand, maybe we could keep Jim Schwartz right where he is, keeping this defense exactly how it is, and hire an offensive candidate to then pair with Jim Schwartz. Again, I think if Harbaugh is available and he wants to bring Todd Monken, fine. Give me those two with Schwartz. Oh, guys, we are so back. Come on now. But you weigh in for me. Should the Browns promote Jim Schwartz? Type P for promote. Type S for stay defensive coordinator. Give me a letter in the comments section. I'm curious where you guys are at with this one. Again, because nobody's interviewing him to be a head coach elsewhere right now, I think we're fine. If those rumors start to come up, And the only way you keep Schwartz is by making him a head coach. Well, then we're going to have that conversation. But comment down below what you want to happen. P for promote, S for stay. I'm going to tell you who else Cleveland has interviewed. That's right, they've made more requests. But before we do that, let's give a shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops. And Prize Picks lets you take control. I love this app, man. It's a lot of fun. I win money. And covering the Browns helps me know what picks to make. And since I can't watch my favorite team anymore for a while, I want a way to stay entertained during the games and have something to root for. New feature alert, Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Get in on the action. Prize Picks is now available in all 50 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Here's my lineup for the playoffs, ladies and gentlemen. I like Kyron Williams this week, all right, against the Panthers. More than 67.5 rushing yards, more than half a touchdown. It could be rushing or receiving. And finally, come on, Stroud, beat those Steelers. More than half a passing touchdown. I just need him to get one. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Can also confirm that the Cleveland Browns are going to give Tommy Rees an interview. Their offensive coordinator for this year, and this year only so far, called plays for the back half of this year. Hard to judge what Tommy Rees was this season because the bad the Browns' offense was, but Adam Schefter tells us that the Browns' offensive coordinator, Tommy Rees, is interviewing Thursday for Cleveland's head coach job. Pair sources. So tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, Rees's interview will get underway, and we'll keep you updated on how that goes. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss who Cleveland's going after. But Rees's coaching history goes prior to the Cleveland Browns, okay? You know, not only did he play quarterback at Notre Dame, he coached there, and he called plays there as an offensive coordinator. A lot of his tenure got started there from 2017 to 2022. Also worked under Nick Saban in Alabama as an offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, 2023. And then Cleveland brought him on up to the big leagues last year to be a pass game specialist, and he got the promotion to offensive coordinator. And as you guys saw how that shook out in 2025. Now, I've heard different reports on Tommy Rees, but a lot of analysts in Cleveland, like Mary Kay, like Daniel Yafusi, are saying that he's very well regarded. Here's what Mary Kay had to say about Tommy Rees. Rees is viewed as a rising offensive genius, and the Browns don't want to let him out of the building like they did some other brilliant minds, such as Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell. Yeah, well, first of all, we're done with the Kevins from the Vikings, okay? So I don't care if it's O'Connell, we're done with those, Mary Kay. But remember this about Tommy Rees, too, in terms of how he's viewed by other organizations. He's only 33 years old. I did say I want a young offensive-minded coach. He's well-regarded in the fact that he interviewed for Penn State's job this year, folks. Also, we were told by Schefter that he was going to get the UNC job if it wasn't for Bill Belichick getting hired over there in North Carolina. So he's getting a lot of interviews and traction, and, as you know, has been promoted to offensive coordinator for Cleveland this season. But the Browns' offense was dreadful. You know, some of the play calls really were questionable. And I would say that Stefanski's a big issue, right, this past season. That's why I made the case for him to get fired. That's why he did get fired. Because Stefanski's the common denominator the past 2 years of sluggish offenses. Rees, I mean, how can you evaluate half a season of play calling of Stefanski's playbook, you know? Maybe he really is a secret offensive genius. Or you look at the games like how we lost to the Jets when he took over. We lost to the Titans. And there were questionable play calls. We had some of the worst offensive outputtings you've seen in Cleveland, like the Niners game, like the Bears game. And the 2-point call, you know, Stefanski takes the blame for it because at the end of the day, it was Stefanski's final decision, and he owned that in press conferences. But Rees started calling the plays when we criticized Stefanski for a lot of the things that happened. It was the two of them in tandem. Kind of hard to evaluate. Is this more Stefanski or is this Rees doing a poor job? But I wanted to update you on the fact that Cleveland is going to give Tommy Rees an interview. And as I told you yesterday, the Browns are going to request to interview. They have requested to interview Todd Monken, the Baltimore Ravens' current offensive coordinator, who no longer has a head coach, John Harbaugh, with him. This was an interesting one here. I gave you guys that update from Ian Rappaport, right, that Todd Monken has received a request to interview for the Browns head coach job. He actually received multiple requests last year, and according to Rappaport, he should again. This will be one of them. Now, Monken, last year's Ravens offense was phenomenal, 2024, okay? This year, maybe a bit of an outlier year because Lamar got hurt for multiple games. They kept it competitive over there, did Harbaugh and Monken, though. As we know, they were battling for the division literally up until Week 18, and then a missed field goal gave Pittsburgh the division. And Diana Rossini, here's what's most interesting about the Monken thing update for Cleveland. A key pressure point is the John Harbaugh dismissal, according to those familiar with today's discussions, was his refusal to entertain any conversations about potentially moving on from offensive coordinator Todd Monken. Harbaugh didn't want to get rid of Monken. So much so that Baltimore kicked him out because he wouldn't entertain a conversation about not having Todd Monken with him. That's what I think is most interesting to me is Cleveland, they're the first team to be like, hey, we like Todd Monken. Hey, we're interviewing him. We're the only ones that have. Hey, you want to bring your guy over? John, here's a check. Write what you want. Bring your friends. Pair him with Jim Schwartz. That should be what Cleveland and Jimmy Haslam are doing. Please. Maybe Andrew Berry did something smart here and requested to interview Todd Monken, knowing something like this might come out. That's, I think, the most interesting part of the Monken interview is can this please lead to a John Harbaugh interview? I guarantee you the Browns have called about Harbaugh. We heard that 7 teams called John Harbaugh within the first 45 minutes of his firing. That's from Adam Schefter. There are 7 teams with head coach openings, including the Ravens. So the Browns surely are on that list to call up John, who grew up a Browns fan, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, Cleveland requested to interview Aden Durde, the defensive coordinator of the Seattle Seahawks. Another interesting younger defensive option. I think he's a great underrated candidate, but he doesn't call plays on defense in Seattle. Like I said, I don't think you can go defensive, right? I mean, look, he's the only defensive guy that they've asked that isn't Schwartz, right? So I think Cleveland realizes they can't do it either. But some key defensive stats, if you're curious, for Seattle. I mean, their unit has been phenomenal in 2025, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, they're first in opponents' points per game. They're second in opponents' yards per play. Like, they don't give up much. Yards per rush, the best rushing defense by that metric, and the best defense in terms of points allowed. They've allowed the least points in the league in 2025, okay? So he's done an incredible job, but he's also working with McDonald, who calls the plays on that defense. So you do have to factor that in. I think Durde's a candidate that in a year, 2 years, 3 years, absolutely is going to be a more sought-after candidate. Cleveland's getting the early jump, which I like, but I don't think he's going to be a serious one for them to hire. Out of the names that they have requested to interview, who's your favorite? Who do you like on that list? Comment down below. You can comment John Harbaugh if you want to, because I guarantee you they've called him, but they haven't requested to interview him. So be the GM for me. Put a name in that comment section. You let me know. And while you're down there, find some of my social links on Twitter, Joey070. Give me a follow. We can chop it up there. We're on Instagram, Browns Report IG, and TikTok, Joey O. Brown. Post lots of fun highlights and Browns content, so don't miss out. Give me a follow. Appreciate you guys being here with me, and we will see you on the next episode of the Browns Report. Boom. Shout out Dustin Jordan. He said, hire Joey O. I can do better than Stefanski. I'll tell you that much. My friend. Let's go. What do we got? What are people saying? You can throw that weigh-in back up with the name candidate. Mr. JD. Joshua Miller said, Joey O. It's Harbaugh or bust. I mean, he clears every candidate in this pool. This was a weak coaching candidate pool. Harbaugh shoots to the top of every team. Remember, guys, super chat if you want to be on the show, but always get active in that comment section because I go through and read out some comments. But I'll automatically put you on the screen if you super chat, and we'll make you part of our Q&A video. Shedeur Sanders Glazer says, please get John in all caps. The Ravens wanted to draft Shedeur, by the way. Don't forget. Don't forget. Look at this. Everybody spamming John, even Mike Nintendo, even Time Man, Jacob. The people know. They know JD. They know he's the best candidate. Sad Browns fan said, why do I actually think you could? Let's go. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah. Sad Browns fan with the $1 super chat. Let's go. Shout out to you, Sad Browns fan. Appreciate you. Brian Tucker, good to see you in here, my friend. He said, what's up, Joey? I'm in on John. I am in as well, Brian. I think the Browns better be in. I think Haslam's got to call him up. Haslam, you're worth over $8 billion. Give a little something to John, all right, to turn this thing around. Mikey D with the $1 super chat. Appreciate you, my friend. W, first super chat of the day. It is a party now to get Harbaugh, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Mikey for the $1 super chat. Let me know your favorite candidates down below, ladies and gentlemen. Coco said Dylan is toast. Kevin damaged his career. I just didn't like him as a prospect either, to be honest. I mean, I never thought he was a third-round pick. I really didn't. I was watching it on draft night. I wish you could see the video of my reaction. I was pissed. I was elated at getting Shedeur in the 5th, though. That's a steal, in my opinion. I'm going to tell you guys in the future as well. Mel Kiper stood on business today. He was like, Shedeur should be the Browns' quarterback going forward. That's what he said today. Shout out Coco, Jacob, everybody in the chat. Kathy, Robert Colbert saying Jim Schwartz or John Harbaugh. I think that's the direction Cleveland goes. Oh, it's a Culver's dinner tonight for Joshua Miller. Interesting. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is quarterback rumors. Speaking of Shedeur. How you feel about that, JD? He's in. He is in. Yeah? Let's go, dude. I love him too. Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
I try not to hate on players. God, I hate hearing myself twice. It throws me off. But I don't like to hate on players, like at all whatsoever. But Shedeur Sanders, I genuinely love as a player.
Let's go.
Even watching him at Colorado, even before that with Jackson State, really liked him. Really liked his gameplay. And I really think he can be the Browns QB going forward.
Yeah?
Especially, and considering the past history, it's kind of rough. It's like, oh, do you want to take that chance? But it's like, I mean, I feel like he's shown what he can do. And I think all he has to do now is just kind of take it into next year, develop more, and just go from there.
Let's go, JD. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of difficult to evaluate right now with the Cleveland Browns system because Grant Bass saying, rocking with the wrist up, let's go. I mean, the offensive line, like, I don't know. Except for Browns fans, I don't know if the rest of the league understands how bad our offensive line was. Like, they miss some blocks consistently. They don't know where to look. They're not coached well. It was atrocious. So that's the biggest focus in this offseason is O-line. You also need wide receivers. And yes, quarterback's the most important position. So we're going to talk about who's going to be the Browns starting quarterback. That's actually segment 2. You know what? Let me not spoil too much here, actually, because we're about to talk about this because Andrew Berry had some comments about this, right? They asked him, what's the quarterback plan next year? And Andrew Berry spoke about this. So, who will start for the Browns in 2026? That's the segment we are talking about right now, coming up on the show, ladies and gentlemen. So, if you're ready to talk about some Browns quarterback rumors, who's going to be the starter? Let me make sure I got all my ducks in a row, as they say. Yeah, I believe so, Mr. JD. Let's do it. Andrew Berry just spoke to the media and gave some major updates here about the Cleveland Browns in 2026, what they're looking for, what's the quarterback situation. He was asked a lot about this and what their plan is, so we're going to hear from Berry. And where is the team trending with Shedeur Sanders, number 12, their fifth-round pick who ended up starting 7 games at the end of the year? What direction will Cleveland go in regarding Shedeur? I've got the answers for you on here on today's show. We're going to look at what Berry said about this. We're going to look what Shedeur had to say about this. Has he earned the job to be quarterback 1 in 2026? Before we dive into what the Browns organization is saying, I want to hear what you're saying. Call it right now in the comments section. Will Shedeur Sanders be the starting QB next year? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. Put a letter in the comments section. Let me know where you're at, Browns fans, on if Shedeur will start in 2026. Here's what Andrew Berry had to say. We're going to do our work on the quarterback market. It's too important of a position, and it's something that has to be solidified. I can't sit here and tell you today whether the solution for our starter in 2026 is internal or external. There's some keys here, ladies and gentlemen. Internal or external. I think you missed a quote, actually. Whoops. This part's not in it. Is there a second quote, or is it just missing that line? Okay. Folks, you get to see a little technical difficulty. We're going to run it right back. All right. You want to start from the top, or you want to just splice in? Yeah, let's do that. Cool. Yeah, just be mindful of that. I mean, I didn't put it in the script, so it's partly on me as well. But it's like this one might have 3. Like just look at what's in there, I guess, and go with the script. Cool. All right, take it from the top, folks. Sorry about that. I see a lot of Y's, though. A lot of Y's for yes. Shout out Joshua Miller as well for the 5. All right, take it from the top. Okay, let's do it. Andrew Berry just gave some major updates on the Browns' quarterback situation. What's the plan for 2026? He was peppered with questions about this and what they're going to do at QB. We're going to look at what he had to say, and also, where is the team trending with Shedeur Sanders? What will his role be in 2026? Will he be the Browns' starting quarterback? We're going to look at what Andrew Berry had to say about this. We're going to hear from what Shedeur Sanders had to say about this, all on today's show, so don't miss out. But before I show you what the Browns organization has to say about it, I want to hear from you guys. What you have to say. Will Shedeur Sanders be the starting quarterback next year? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Give me a letter in the comments section. Call it now. Will Shedeur be QB1 in 2026? You let me know. Without further ado, let's hear from Andrew Berry and his remarks on the situation. We're going to do our work on the quarterback market. It's too important of a position, and it's something that has to be solidified. I can't sit here and tell you today whether the solution for our starter in 2026 is internal or external. But it's something that we're going to work through over the next several weeks. And quite honestly, the new head coach will also have a lot of input into that as well. So here's the keys there. 1, he couldn't say if the quarterback's going to be internal or external. That means they are really going to deep dive into this, explore all options for quarterback, because Berry said it's the most important position in sports. And new head coach input is another key here, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have a head coach right now, but whoever we hire, well, he'll get to choose if he wants to go get a new quarterback, if he likes Shedeur. Remember, the Ravens wanted to draft Shedeur, so maybe if you did get Monken or Harbaugh, he would be down to work with number 12. But those are keys for Cleveland going forward. Andrew Berry asked specifically about Shedeur Sanders. Said this: I think we saw a lot of progress with Shedeur this year. I think that's both mentally, physically, playing the position. He's still very much a work in progress, says Andrew Berry, like many rookie quarterbacks are. But I think we saw some really good things in terms of his playmaking, his accuracy, his ability to extend with his feet. And this is exactly what I've been saying. right? I did see flashes from Shedeur. You did see a lot of great things. Some deep shots we hadn't seen all year. Some plays with his legs. Some extending of plays. But it wasn't perfect. No, not by any means, right? There were 10 interceptions on the year. Now, not every interception is created equal. You had some bounce off of Judy. You have some bounce off of Judkin's shoulder. Come on. But that's why I think it was ups and downs with Sanders, okay? And you just have to factor in the Cleveland Browns situation as a whole. So I think Barry notices what I noticed, which is we did see a lot of good things. But there were also some rookie mistakes. There were some that were on Shedeur, right? Some questionable plays where he's just throwing it up across his body. And you're like, all right, we didn't need that. So, yeah, ups and downs in a bad situation. I think he's earned his way to stay on this roster, though, and he's better than Dylan Gabriel. I stand by that. And who are your other options? This is the real question. So everybody can give their opinion. You could get down there, and you could be one of the people that's saying, because people are trying to tell me, they're like, dude, give it up. They're like, Shedeur sucks. That's what they're saying to me. Who's the other option? Give me your names. The free agent market of quarterbacks, not good. The draft quarterbacks, you don't have a top 3 pick. All right? I mean, look at this. Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota, Joe Flacco, you want to bring him back? Malik Willis. Now, he's a name I actually would be interested in, though. All right? I would be interested in Malik Willis. I'll tell you that much. But look at some of these names. Like, these are the best free agent options. Russ has already failed trying to be a starter again. Mariota's not a starter. Not anymore. Neither's Flacco. Malik Willis is the one name I'd consider. Look at some of his numbers, okay? 85% completion percentage? Dang. They won some big games for Green Bay when Love got hurt. The offense actually looked better with Malik Willis at times. And we know that firsthand because you might think, well, that's the Packers system. Love was struggling. We beat the Packers, okay? They only put up 10 points against us. Malik Willis has been balling. So he's the only name I would say go out and get. Dan Orlovsky says he's going to get 40 to 50 million. People got on him. They're like, what the hell are you talking about, Dan? 40 million a year? I don't think he meant a year. That'd be crazy. Maybe 20 million a year, right? But he's the one name you could look out for. Trey Lance, another option, a younger guy. Just not really much success at all, though, with Dallas, with the Niners. Like, seriously, you're telling me we have Shedeur Sanders on a rookie deal who showed a lot of positives. If we could get a better offensive line and some weapons, that's a better scenario than some random veteran external quarterback. Seriously. Who are your other options? Carson Wentz? There's nobody. Trade options. Tua and Kyler Murray are the quarterbacks in trade rumors right now. Both of them unproductive lately. Both of them massive contracts that we do not need to take on. We have Deshaun Watson on the roster next year. We still got to pay. I'm not giving up any capital to get one of those two. Makes no sense to me. And let me tell you this, Browns fans. You will get pissed off with any of those options very quickly. You're going to have a short fuse and a short temper, just like we did with every quarterback this year. You're going to see one interception from Trey Lance, from Russell Wilson, from Mariota, and you're going to say, get him the hell out of here. That's what happened to Flacco. So you would get pissed off with any of those mediocre options. The Browns, the thing with them is they're just doing this in a bad market. Of course, they don't have their stuff figured out in a bad market. And the coaching pool was a bad market as well until John Harbaugh got fired. He became an option. But now you're trying to figure this thing out, and there's not many options to do so. So look at the Browns quarterback room right now. I think this is what you have next year. I don't know, unless Malik Willis is someone who you can get, then I think you're rolling with this. And it might not be enthralling because we have had to suffer the past few years of just a weird quarterback depth chart cycle rotation of different starters. You went, Deshaun Watson to P.J. Walker to Jameis Winston. This year you went from Flacco to Dillon to finally Shedeur. And Watson, I think, is going to be on this mix as well next season. Don't forget about him. And so it's not the prettiest thing, but because of the lack of options out there, because we did see some good from Shedeur, I think you need linemen, build, see if it looks better, and then get your guy when there's more people available. You tell me in the comment section, though, who should be the Browns' next quarterback. Comment your name down below. Curious what everybody thinks. Get in the comment section and let me know. We're going to talk about what Shedeur had to say about this, though, on the back half of today's show. So don't go anywhere if you want to hear what Sanders has to say, what he thinks about this whole situation, and if he did enough to be quarterback one. But first, I want to tell you guys about this awesome deal at Chat Sports. Myles Garrett made history. We all got to watch it, and there's a shirt to remember it by with the date on it. It looks super sick. It's him celebrating. He just looks so relieved. You want to rock this from this historic Browns season? It's only $34.99 at chatsports.com/MGRecord. That is chatsports.com/MGRecord. Get yourself this Myles Garrett t-shirt. He's the record-breaking man. I'm going to put this link in the comment section. I'm going to put it in the description so that you can find it easily, but it's easy to remember. It's Myles Garrett's initials, chatsports.com/MGRecord. Record-breaking, man. I'd want to rock this for sure because it's only once in a lifetime. It's historic. All right, here's what Shedeur had to say on this whole thing. I think I did what I was able to do, and I definitely grew from a lot of things, and I got experience now. So I'm always the same. Confidence-wise, I'm there. But, that's not in my hands. It's not my decision. I can't speak on what other people feel. I think overall, as a quarterback, I showed different pieces in different games to all add up to one complete quarterback. And that's what I had to get to in those situations. Red zone situations, field goal situations, third down situations, where you at on the field situations. So there was a lot of situations, and that was good. I think it's one more part of this too, JD, if you look there. He said one more thing on this. But he made some fair points in his press conference, right? I mean, he was put in a lot of different situations. Bad offensive line, no weapons. The coach didn't want him to start. They didn't pick him. And there was a lack of reps, a severe lack of reps for Shedeur, okay? And he talked about that a little bit more. I'm going to show you that here now, saying, I feel like this was a good learning year for me. And I'm excited for it because, like I say, moving forward, I'll be prepared. I'll have actual, realistic reps versus players and other players on other teams and everything. So I'm excited for this offseason, knowing what I'm knowing and understanding what to expect and what I'm going to get. That's your key right there. Now I'll have actual, realistic reps. We know he feels that way. After the Raiders win, he literally said, imagine if I had a full offseason, what that would look like. What would it look like? We're going to find out today. We're going to find out this offseason. Stick with us, ladies and gentlemen. But he does have some fair points. Makes you wonder, would it look better? Of course it would look better. Is he the guy? If every quarterback plays bad, it's a system problem. All right? Seriously, who's looked good in Stefanski's system the past 2 years in Cleveland? And did the Watson deal set us back? Yeah. But why? What is the fall from grace from Deshaun Watson? How do you become so good to so bad? The system is wrong. O-line is the Browns' biggest need. It is their biggest focus this offseason. Fix that thing. Revamp it. Draft linemen. Sign linemen. You might have 5 completely different O-linemen starting next year. It's the other thing about Shedeur's back half of the season, right? I mean, he was down to this third-string center, second-string guard, second-string tackle. What the heck do you want him to do? Load up on the linemen. That's your biggest focus. And Andrew Berry acknowledges that as well. But he also said his focus, solidifying the quarterback position. That's the biggest thing that can lead to sustainable success. That's priority number 1. How we accomplish that with the combination of internal options, external veteran options, the draft, that remains to be seen. But priority number 1 is finding a leader for the organization. That's what our focus is on the short term. As you can see there from Andrew Berry. So he did acknowledge that he needs to revamp his offensive line in a different part of this press conference, but he said, quarterback's number 1 priority, finding a new one. We're being lied to again. They don't have a plan. He doesn't know what they're going to do. It's going to depend on the new head coach. And like I showed you, there's no head coach there's no quarterback options out there. The best free agents Russell Wilson was washed. You're not drafting Mendoza or Moore. And quite frankly, those guys aren't as good of prospects as even Caleb Williams was coming out. Even Cam Ward was coming out. And those two had rocky first years. They don't have a plan. This is all going to depend on a new head coach, training camp reps. So Shedeur will be in this quarterback battle. I think Watson will be in this quarterback battle. Gabriel will be in it, but he shouldn't. But this is what Cleveland is going to do going forward for right now. Unless you get Malik Willis, who also is a backup this year, but he's the best available option. That's why my head coach needs to be a guy that can develop a quarterback. It's what we need. It's what we lacked with Kevin Stefanski. Whoever we hire, they need to be a QB whisperer so that we can get the most out of Shedeur, so that we can get our guy and stick with one guy going forward. Not this cycling in, cycling out throughout the season of losing. Get me someone that knows how to develop a QB. So this is fun. I won't even ask you for specifics. Just, will the Browns make the right decision? Do you have any faith in them to do it right? Comment down below. Please, make the right hire. Start the right QB. Right now, I think it is Shedeur. But I'll have you updated if they go out, sign, or draft anybody else. That's why you hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of the show. Do appreciate you all, and I will see you shortly here on the Browns Report. All right. Yeah, so obviously a couple things there, but that got messed up. I think it still works, but yeah. Yeah, you could just left it. But it's all right. It's all good. Let me know, folks. Brown's going to get this one right? Kathy said, hell no. Shedeur Sanders Glazer says, no, we are the Browns. I like that Browns NY is still saying, John, we need some Harbaugh, man. Turn the ship around, please. Somebody save us. Please. All right, let's get ready to do our mailbag episode. And we did get a super chat from Joshua Miller. So let's take a look at that. And like I said, if anybody wants to be a part of the show, super chat, get on screen. We'll put you in our video. But keep those questions coming and takes in the chat with the hashtag Browns next to it so that we can find it and put you in the show as well, potentially. Joshua Miller with the 5. Thank you so much, Joshua Miller. Would Harbaugh be worth it if one of his conditions for joining the Browns was to move up in the draft to get one of Dante Moore or Fernando Mendoza? Yes. If that's what he wants, that's what he gets. You trade up. If his condition was, I'll come to Cleveland, but you got to get Moore or Mendoza, you do that. Harbaugh is a winning coach. He knows what succeeds in the NFL. And I'll tell you what, he would still want Shedeur on the roster because they wanted him in Baltimore to back up Lamar. So it might end up being a longer road for Shedeur, but I guarantee he would still at least be the backup for Cleveland. And perhaps get an opportunity later for the Shedeur fan. But yes, you do this. If that's what Harbaugh wants, Josh. Good question. We'll put it in our show. Sad Browns fan. Imagine we got Fernando and Tate. I would miss Shedeur, though. We need a QB we can stick with, and I think Shedeur is that. I think so, my friend. George with the 10. Shout out to George Gombach, everybody. Said, I like Kingsbury for a coach. I don't think Harbaugh wants to stay in this division. It's a great take by George here. You know, Kingsbury starting to climb up my list a little bit. He's had his ups and downs, but when he was a head coach, he's been a head coach before. That's a plus when you're looking for a candidate. Also took that Arizona Cardinals team to the playoffs when he was a head coach there one time. Developed Jaden Daniels very well. This year, not as much. Got kind of vanilla, his play calling and his offense. But I think Kingsbury's a very intriguing candidate. He also, here's what jumps out to me about Kingsbury. And we'll put you in our show, George. Thank you so much for the 10. What jumps out to me is it was a mutual parting of ways in Washington. Almost as if Kingsbury is trying to tell us something, trying to tell us, hey, I could do way better than this. It literally said in the report he's leaving to pursue other opportunities. So head coach for Kingsbury, even as a coordinator, he's on my list, George. Appreciate the 10 for sure. But remember, Cleveland likes to interview people that nobody else is, so I'm pretty sure Stefanski had no other interviews when the Browns hired him. Another season for Todd Bowles. Interesting. All right, let's talk about what you guys want to talk about. Mailbag episode. Comment, questions with the hashtag Browns or Super Chat. Shout out to everybody that Super Chatted. Skip the line. Let me know down below. Get your questions in. Let's check this thing from Marsh. John Harbaugh has not yet set up a meeting with the Giants or anybody else. I'm told his camp has been inundated with interest from the 6 teams, not counting the Ravens, looking for a coach. 3 teams that presently have a coach. 3 teams with a coach are interested in Harbaugh, folks. Wow. Wow. The Giants, obviously, one of them. Apparently, it's the Giants' number 1 choice. It should be everybody's number 1 choice. Really should be. But we're looking at Dan Pitcher. Who might not be bad. We'll see. All right, folks, let's talk about what you guys want to talk about. Are we ready? Brian Tucker, yeah, even Kingsbury, helped Kyler Murray get Rookie of the Year. This is Kyler Murray we're talking about. There we go. Shedeur Glazer with the hashtag Browns. If you want to be in the show, put a hashtag Browns next to your question or your take or Super Chat, and we'll automatically put you in. All right, JD, you ready for this one? All right, my guy. Let's give it a go here whenever you're ready. Awesome. And, yeah, cool. You got some questions. We could start. All right, perfect. Let's do it. You're watching the Browns Report. We're going to answer Browns fans' questions with the latest Browns news and rumors. And I'm your host, Joey O'Donohue, a diehard Browns fan myself. So, buckle up, grab a snack, enjoy this episode. It's time to hear from the people and what they want to know. Welcome into the Browns Report, everybody. And without further ado, let's answer our first question here on today's show from Perfect Timing 67. All right, another question from my friend over here. Great to see you. Did you see Rich Eisen says Deshaun Watson will start next year? Hashtag Browns. Great question. I did see this. I did see this quote, and it was pretty jarring that this is a real possibility. Here it is from Rich Eisen. Deshaun Watson. Don't you think he's starting next year? Why wouldn't they give it one last run? For all your money that you've put into his pocket, and he's ready to play, see what you got. Deshaun Watson's a spring chicken compared to guys like Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, who have actually had some pretty successful starts in 2025. All right, here's how I feel about Deshaun Watson. Obviously, guys, we watched him together. It's the worst contract in sports history. Maybe the worst trade in sports history, NFL history. You gave up 3 first-round picks to get him, and, well, these are the numbers he produced for Cleveland. Look at the QBR every year. Last year was 21. It was the worst in the league. Interceptions after interception after interception. We watched it. It was bad. Very bad. Took some sacks. Don't have short-term memory about this here. But it's been a while. And I do wonder, was Kevin Stefanski the problem? There's a reason he got fired. What if Stefanski was holding him back? I mean, Deshaun Watson, it's not like he's a bum that we drafted. No, he was a Pro Bowler. He was a fringe top 5 quarterback in Houston. The fall from grace needs to be studied. How do you go from top 5 to bottom 2? Unfathomable. I know he took some time off and there was a lot going on. But seriously, the difference, it's a completely different player. It's a completely different person. And Houston's figured their thing out over there. They're in the playoffs right now to go take on Pittsburgh Steelers, who we're going to root heavily against. So I do ask that question. And then I think, well, what if Watson wins the training camp battle? You know, Watson posts a lot on his Instagram story that he wants to come back, that he's about to come back. And so I'm warming up to the idea. Now, don't crucify me just yet. I'm not saying start Deshaun Watson. I'm not pounding the table saying that. No, you guys know that I like Shedeur Sanders and some that I saw from him this year. But if Watson earns the job and actually looks like he's a baller again with our new head coach, it's going to be up to our new head coach. Maybe I wouldn't mind watching him one more time just to see what it looks like. If our offensive line is better, if we have more receivers. Could he be a bridge quarterback while we let a younger one develop? What say you? Should Watson start in a game next year? Y for yes, N for no. Comment down below what you think, Browns fans. I know you're scared. I know it was awful when he was playing. I was there. But would you give him one more shot? He's going to be on the roster no matter what. So even if you type N for no, he'll be on the roster just sitting there making millions of dollars. Let me know. Should he get at least one start next year in the comment section. X20 Cameron, if Jim does land the head coach spot, who's our defensive coordinator? It's a great question from X20 Cameron, right? Because you're probably not going to get one of the top ones out there. Like Brian Flores getting a head coach job, whether you like it or not. So Cleveland, it would be up to Jim Schwartz, funny enough. And I think that actually works in Cleveland's favor, given how much success he's had as a DC, not only with the Cleveland Browns defense, but he won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia as the Eagles defensive coordinator. So it would be completely up to whoever Jim Schwartz wants to be DC, but it's probably not going to be the top candidate in the cycle, right? Because Jesse Minter, probably getting a head coach job. Chris Shula, probably going to get a head coach job. No one's just going to come to Cleveland to be your DC. So you're looking at some lower tier options, perhaps even someone that's not a DC right now. But I do trust Jim Schwartz to make a good decision if he did get that head coach spot. Sad Browns fan. Hashtag Browns. Do you think we will keep Shedeur or target another QB during the draft? Great question. I think we're going to keep Shedeur. No doubt in my mind that he'll be on our roster in this mix. Maybe they'll trade him, which would be a blockbuster here. I would have to probably go live and tell you guys all about that. But no question that he'll be in this mix. He'll be an option. I don't think you're drafting a quarterback. You're not trading up. You're not sending both your first-round picks to get Mendoza or Moore, who, by the way, they are not, they're the best prospects in this class, but they are not even as good a prospect as Cam Ward was last year, and he sucked this year. Titans suck. So it's not worth going all in, sending house. No, you're staying where you are. Could they draft Ty Simpson later? Perhaps. I'd even be in on them taking a swing with someone late in the draft. Not Carson Beck, but, maybe he's a later quarterback. Drew Aller, if he falls and is draft eligible this year, all right, I'd take a late round pick on him. But it's no one that's going to be like, boom, we got our automatic starter in this draft. No, Shedeur clears what they're going to do in this year's draft class. Joshua Miller with the 5. Would Harbaugh be worth it if one of his demands / conditions for joining the Browns was to move up in the draft to get one of Dante Moore or Fernando Mendoza? Such a great question from Joshua Miller, who knows that I like Shedeur. The answer is yes, Josh. If John Harbaugh says, I'm coming to Cleveland, but you got to trade up and get me Mendoza or Dante Moore, you trade up and you get him Mendoza or Dante Moore. This is a once-in-a-lifetime candidate in a head coaching cycle. A John Harbaugh does not become available every year. This coaching pool was pretty weak, quite frankly, until John Harbaugh got fired. Now he is everybody's number one candidate. The guy got 7 phone calls in 45 minutes after getting fired. Everybody knows the stakes. We just got to report that 3 teams that have head coaches are interested in John Harbaugh. To hell with whoever our coach is. We want John Harbaugh. That's how rare this is to be a possibility. Whatever he wants, give him. Blank check. Write the number. It's yours. Bring in whoever you want. Harbaugh is a winning coach. He is a winning mentality. He will turn the ship around. I think we'd be dangerous if we kept Jim Schwartz and had John Harbaugh and let him bring in an OC that he likes. Come on now. So if he really loves Mendoza or more, then absolutely, because he knows talent. He knows how to evaluate. They got Lamar Jackson, for crying out loud, in the bottom of the first round. He might like Shedeur, though, too. Ravens wanted to draft him. So I think Shedeur would be in his plans as well. But to answer your question, yes. Yes, Joshua Miller. We got more questions to answer, but first let's tell you about our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard. But in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the action never stops. And Prize Picks lets you take control. I love this app, man. It's a lot of fun. I win money. And covering the Browns helps me know what picks to make. And since I can't watch my favorite team anymore for a while, I want a way to stay entertained during games. Have something to root for. Prize Picks makes all the games more entertaining. And new feature alert, Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your player gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Get in on the action. Prize Picks is now available in all 50 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Here's my lineup for the weekend. Kyron Williams, more than 67.5 rushing yards. More than half a touchdown. Feed him against the Panthers. And C.J. Stroud, take on Pittsburgh. More than half a touchdown. Beat them, please. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. George with the 10. I like Kingsbury for coach. I don't think Harbaugh wants to stay in this division. Well, that's a great point, George. Harbaugh's everybody's number one candidate. But who does he want to go to? Mina Kimes said that Harbaugh's going to have his choice. And that's probably true. He could go wherever he wants. Does he really want to battle in the cold AFC North again? I'll tell you this. He's got Cleveland ties. I'll tell you this. His mom, his family, grew up Browns fans. He grew up a Browns fan. After such a long career, maybe this back part of his coaching life is a passion project. How about he's the one to fix the Browns? How about the Ravens took our franchise? We're going to take their longtime head coach and take over this division and beat Baltimore going forward now. How about that? I think he's realistic looking at the Cleveland Browns, believe it or not. Kingsbury, though, he's a guy that made Kyler Murray a Rookie of the Year. Come on now. He's a guy that took Arizona to the playoffs. He has head coaching experience. So he is going up my list. I think he has a lot of ups and downs, though. He can be kind of stale, a little bit vanilla, and that's why Washington was awful this past year, but their defense was awful as well. So you have to factor that in to the equation. And Kingsbury, I think having head coach experience is something that is a positive in a candidate. And what's really telling for me about the Kingsbury situation is the fact that it's a mutual parting of ways with the Commanders. The report said he left to look at other opportunities. That, to me, says, this sucks. I could be doing so much more somewhere else. Let me show you what I could do, just like what he did with Jaden Daniels. Washington, NFC Championship game for crying out loud in 2024. So, yeah, he would be a young offensive-minded candidate that I'm looking for that goes up my list. Surprised Cleveland hasn't reached out yet. Robert Colbert. Offensive line needs to be fired. Receivers need to be fired, but keep Tillman and Bond. Hashtag Browns. Yeah, great take. Revamp the entire offensive line. Fire the offensive line coach, too. Bloomgren, when Callahan was here, same players, best O-line in the league. All of a sudden, you have Bloomgren, and we suck. Worst offensive line in the league. Bottom two by the numbers. What the hell's going on? Listen, half of them are free agents. Actually, 80% of them are free agents. You're not going to keep them all. Maybe you get to keep Teller now because Stefanski's out. Apparently, they didn't like each other. Antonio might retire. Conklin, don't get me started on Mr. Injury. So, yeah, draft new ones, sign new ones, get everybody else. Tillman, sure. He didn't really do much this year, but Bond I like a lot. Bond you're keeping. Judy, I'm glad you didn't mention Judy. Don't need me crashing out here, all right? It's getting late on a Wednesday. X20 Cameron. Hashtag Browns. Trade Gabriel to the Raiders for a 5th-round pick and Corley. I like Malachi Corley, though. He's done some decent stuff for us. But Gabriel, we already traded them Kenny Pickett for a 5th. You think they're going to take Gabriel off our hands now, too? Also, what a waste, dude. Gabriel's a third-round pick, and we got to project trades where realistically he's getting a sixth, honestly, maybe a fifth if you're lucky. You have to throw in Malachi Corley to get a fifth for Gabriel. What an embarrassment! In such a great draft class from Andrew Berry, there was a big miss in the middle of it. But yeah, trade him for whatever you can get. Honestly, we don't need him. All right, it's Dallas. I'm thinking the only way Harbaugh comes to Cleveland is if we give him a John Gruden deal. I'm talking 10 years, $150 million. You think Haslam would be willing to cut a check like that? Oh, Haslam is a money grab machine. He will do it. He's got over $8 billion to his name. All right, Jimmy Haslam would write any check that he needs to write, I would think, to get this deal done. He's got the money to do it. He's got no problem making big swings, as you guys know. He'll pay a quarterback $200 million. Well, that money could have been used for John Harbaugh. And Haslam's got the money to do it. He's of the head coaches, of the teams with head coach openings, Haslam's the second richest owner of them all. Yeah, he would cut the fat check. 10 years, though? I mean, does Harbaugh even want a 10-year deal? You know what it is? They're probably going to have to give guaranteed money. That's what it is. And they gave Stefanski guaranteed money. Haslam will do it. He will do it. Of course, it'll probably mess up because Haslam's doing it. Watch Harbaugh just becomes a bad coach now. No. He's the best candidate in this pool. Yes, they will cut the check. It's literally if Harbaugh will take it. He has his pick of team. Appreciate the question from It's Dallas. That's going to do it from today's episode. I'm your host, Joey O'Donohue. If you guys want to be a part of videos like this, make sure you subscribe. Follow me on X, Joey070. If you want to ask me more questions, I answer them all on there. And like I said, join the party. Hit the sub button. Be a part of videos like this. We go live every Wednesday and do mailbags, so it would be awesome to have more people in here. Hit the sub button, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Cool. Eric with the $2 super chat. Let's go, Eric. Feel like they should hire Clint Kubiak. I like Kubiak as an option. The thing about Kubiak is he's been requested by like 4 teams. The Ravens just requested an interview for Kubiak. There you go. I know multiple teams have, actually. Giants, Falcons, Raiders, Cardinals, I believe. All 4 of them. Unbelievable. He's kind of got a similar personality to Stefanski, though. But what he's done in Seattle, he should be a candidate. I believe it. That's the latest, folks. Hey, we're 3 likes away from 100, too. 3 people could just tap the like button on the live stream. That would be awesome. That would be awesome. And let me know who you guys want to be the Browns head coach. Hit that sub button so you don't miss all the updates. All right. How you feeling, JD? Right. There we go. Yeah. No, those are good. Eric said, huh? Yeah, as long as it's long enough. Eric said, can they just ask Patriots for Vrabel back? LOL. I think he's solidified over there. Josh Miller said, can you see Harbaugh pulling a Vrabel and taking a year off? I heard he wants to get right back into coaching. That's the report. So I think he will. And he's going to have options at his feet and money. They're going to do it for the money, Josh. You know how it works. But, man, I just think I would actually respect a move of Jimmy Haslam's if he could pull this off. Shout out to Eric Potter with the 2. I feel like they should hire Clint Kubiak. Like I said, he's a hot candidate right now. Browns NY said, come on over here, John. Hot candidate. Getting a lot of interviews. I'm with it. He was one of my top ones as well. So, him, offensive guys. He's got to be offensive minded. Him, Kingsbury. Harbaugh's number 1, though. Even Todd Monken now. Because Harbaugh liked him so much. It's all about John. That's where we're headed. I like Mike LaFleur a lot from the Rams, too, by the way. Don't forget about him. Even this new guy, Dan Pitcher, that they're interviewing, like I told you about. He's underrated as a candidate. He's underrated. But all right, folks. That's going to do it for today's live. I do appreciate you guys hopping on here with me. For those who super chatted and those who commented, appreciate you all. Brian Tucker, has Haslam tried to get Harbaugh? Do we know? I'm very certain he's called. He is called for John Harbaugh. Harbaugh has been called by, I think the latest is 9 different teams. And 6 teams have head coach openings, including the Browns. And 7 if you include the Ravens, sorry. But that means Cleveland called. All right? Yeah. It's wild. I mean, that's how big of a candidate this guy is. You don't get these often, so call him up. That's the latest, folks. Appreciate you, Eric. You have a blessed day as well. Kathy said JD did a great job today. Let's go, JD. Don't mind the dog in the profile picture. That's funny. The Giants could get Harbaugh. Shedeur Glazer. Appreciate you, man. I think that's going to do it for us today, folks. Appreciate you all being here with me. And we're going to do this again next Wednesday. More updates for the Brownies. Don't miss out. Daily videos. Subscribe if you're not already. Appreciate you all so much. And I'll see you very soon here on the show.